As Russia's invasion of Ukraine grinds on, the Biden administration is weighing a plan to release around 1 million barrels of oil a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for as long as 6 months, a source familiar with the matter has told NBC News. An announcement on the plan, which could see as many as 180 million barrels released overall, could come as soon as Thursday, with President Joe Biden expected to deliver remarks about the administration's actions to reduce the impact of Putin's price hike on energy prices. It comes as the White House has pledged an additional $500 million in direct aid for Ukraine, with Biden telling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that aid was on its way during a nearly hour-long call Wednesday. On the ground, the Pentagon said it has seen Russian forces near Kyiv move north or into Belarus, with both the United States and the United Kingdom saying it appeared troops were looking to resupply and reorganize. Ukrainian police and emergency officers escorted an evacuation convoy of 17 buses out of Mariupol on Thursday morning, according to its city council. The convoy will join a column of 45 other evacuation buses carrying civilians out of the blockaded city to Berdyansk to the southwest. Every day is a struggle for the people of Mariupol who still remain in the besieged city. We call for the full evacuation of Mariupol. I appeal to all international partners to help and save every Mariupol resident by joint actions, Mayor Vadim Boychenko said in a statement. More than 80,000 residents have been safely evacuated from Mariupol to the city of Zaporizhia, around 141 miles west of the city, since the efforts began, according to the city council. Elsewhere, more than 380 people were evacuated from the Luhansk region, while over 200 were evacuated from the city of Severodonetsk, according to the head of its regional administration. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba was received by the Polish President Andrzej Duda in Warsaw on Thursday as part of an active dialogue between the two governments. We highly value Poland's strong support for Ukraine and hospitality towards Ukrainians, Kuleba tweeted. Free and strong Ukraine means free and strong Poland in Europe. More than 4 million people have fled Ukraine since Russia launched its invasion in February, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. More than 2.3 million have fled to neighboring Poland. The International Committee of the Red Cross in Ukraine is ready to bring aid and evacuate civilians out of Mariupol on Friday, it has said. Our team in Ukraine is on the road right now to be ready to facilitate the safe passage of civilians out Mariupol tomorrow, it said in a tweet Thursday. This operation is critical. Tens of thousands of lives depend on it, it said, adding that all parties must agree to the exact terms to allow the effort to move forward. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said in a tweet he was working on returning home Ukrainians which were abducted or forcibly relocated to Russia. Earlier on Wednesday, ICRC said it had also delivered urgently needed medicines and supplies to the Kharkiv Regional Hospital. At least 148 children have been killed since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in February, according to the Office of Ukraine's Prosecutor General. As of Thursday, at least 232 children were reported to have been injured, without taking into account numbers from areas affected by active hostilities, according to the office. Irina Venediktova, the Prosecutor General of Ukraine, shared the data on Twitter, adding that at least 797 educational institutions were damaged, 76 completely destroyed. NBC News was not able to independently verify those numbers. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asked the European Union for more weapons in a video conference address to the Dutch parliament, warning that war could spread across Europe if Russian forces were not stopped. Ukraine is just the beginning. If we don't stop Russia, and if we don't stop it urgently, he said as the conflict dragged into its 36th day. Zelensky thanked the Netherlands for its support during the conflict, but stressed his country needed more. We need Stingers. Air defense weapons, they will allow us to stand strong. We also need weapons which can secure our skies or unblock our cities where Russia has created artificial famine. We need weapons that will allow us to drive the occupiers out of our land, he said. The president also appealed for stronger sanctions against Russia. Together with other countries in the EU, you must do everything so that Russia will have no resources to continue this war, he urged the parliamentarians. Russia is not allowing for humanitarian corridors in Kharkiv, Regional Governor Ola Syniegubov said on Thursday. We are working every day to open green corridors. But so far Russia is not giving us such an opportunity, Syniegubov said in a statement on the administration's official Telegram channel. As we can see, the actions of the Russian occupiers are difficult to predict. They are completely chaotic, he continued, saying the Ukrainian armed forces were holding their positions to fend off Russian forces. Russia and Ukraine earlier this month had agreed on the opening of humanitarian corridors to allow civilians to escape the worst of the fighting. The city suffered dozens of artillery, mortar and tank attacks on Wednesday evening, Syniegubov said, as well as missile strikes. A gas pipeline was also damaged, causing a strong fire. The Australian government is imposing an additional 35% increase in imports from Russia and Belarus, its Foreign and Trade Ministry announced Thursday. Foreign Affairs Minister Maurice Payne said in a statement that the government will draft a formal notification withdrawing entitlement to the Most Favored Nation, MFN, tariff treatment to apply the additional fee on imports from Russia and Belarus. Payne said this move attempts to further condemn Russia's actions and is aligned with other like-minded members of the World Trade Organization. The ministry's statement came as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a virtual address to the Australian Parliament Thursday. Russian shelling over the past 2 days set fire to a school, an oil depot, and dozens of houses in Ukraine's eastern Luhansk region, the regional state administration has said. The shelling killed at least 2 people and injured 2 children, it said. NBC News was not able to verify the death toll. Several injured and dead residents could not be taken from the streets for hours, Suri Haidai, governor of Luhansk region, said in a statement shared on the administration's Telegram page. The final number of victims is still being determined. The regional state administration said the Ukrainian army had rebuffed several Russian attacks in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions on Wednesday. Russia has agreed to open a humanitarian corridor for evacuation from the besieged cities Mariupol and Melitopol to Zaporizhia, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk has said, citing confirmation from the Red Cross. Vereshchuk said officials had received a message from the International Committee of the Red Cross about Russia's confirmation of its readiness to open a humanitarian corridor from Mariupol with transit through Berdyansk in a televised statement. NBC News was not able to independently confirm the agreement. Along with the planned evacuation routes, humanitarian aid will also be delivered to those in Melitopol, Vereshchuk said. Corridors have further been approved for evacuees fleeing the city of Enerhodar, home to the largest nuclear power plant in Europe that caught fire earlier in March, Vereshchuk added. At least 45 buses have already been sent for the planned evacuation from Mariupol, while the approved link from Enerhodar to Zaporizhia will have to be undertaken by one's own transportation, the deputy prime minister said. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed Australia's parliament via video link Thursday, warning that global security could be at risk if Russia does not end its invasion of Ukraine. He specifically warned about the threat of the use of nuclear weapons and the risk of radioactive contamination if nuclear weapons are used. Despite a vow to reduce military activity around Ukraine's capital and Chernihiv, Russia has continued significant shelling and missile strikes around the latter northern city, Britain's defense ministry has said. Meanwhile, Russian forces continue to hold positions around Kyiv, it said in its latest intelligence update Thursday. Russian forces continue to hold positions to the east and west of Kyiv despite the withdrawal of a limited number of units, it said. Meanwhile, heavy fighting continued in the besieged city of Mariupol with Ukrainian forces controlling the city's center, it said.